Hello. Topic of this video is the abuse cycle. Um, but before I start, I want to update you guys on the no contact situation with my dad. And I really want to, I just want to update that situation. So obviously, for those who just subscribed or recently subscribed, I've been in no contact with my dad since June 8th. We're approaching 1 year of no contact, but he has tried to hoover around Thanksgiving, sent my mom numerous text messages, sent me numerous text messages, has lashed out at my mom over the phone and by text throughout the summer and throughout the fall around Thanksgiving. And he's gotten more desperate for supply. And really, when the narcissist is trying to hoover, they're looking for supply. Okay? And what's going on here is that he needs supply, and his next step was to get one of his enablers, my stepmom, whom I do not have a good history with, whom I think is very toxic, if not more toxic than my dad is. Very dangerous. Anyway, the stepmom called the cops to come to this apartment, citing that I had blocked my dad's phone numbers, and then they wanted to check on my mom. I want you guys to know that this is just a hoovering tactic. The narcissist is looking for supply. They're hunting for supply. That's all they want. That's all they need. They want to create chaos. They cannot function without that chaos. And that's why this is happening. I blocked most of my dad's phone numbers, if not all of my dad's phone numbers, because he was verbally abusing my mom, and then also over the phone, and I could even hear it, even though I wasn't directly on the phone, because that's how loud he was yelling. Also, he would use my mom, especially around Thanksgiving. He would use my mom as sort of a messenger. So he'd use my mom as a way to get through to me, by a lot of lies and threats. For example, he threatened to close one of my bank accounts, he threatened to close a bank account, and so he's using my mom to get through to me and to hoover and to hopefully get me to talk to him again, so that way he can continue his abuse. So anyway, I blocked phone numbers for those reasons, and my stepmom decided to, my dad got my stepmom to call the cops and have them knock at my mom's door to check on her. But really all this is a hoovering tactic to gain narcissistic supply. The abuse cycle, divided it up into 5 phases. It's funny because I was talking to one of my counselors at my school where I go to college. I just moved back in for the summer. I just completed my first year, but I was just describing this cycle of abuse regarding my dad and the physical and emotional abuse that will happen. With my counselor, I was talking about it, and I had no clue that this was the abuse cycle. And she stopped me right in the middle of my sentence, or stopped me in the middle of a sentence and said, "You just described the abuse cycle, their violent cycle." I think those are used interchangeably, but what I described was exactly the abuse cycle, and it's good when a licensed professional um, understands what you're talking about and can possibly relate. Phase 1, um, everything is peaceful. Abuser makes fake promises of peace, positivity, makes several fake apologies. And in phase 2, you see a gradual buildup of tension. The abuser demands more from you, more phone calls if you're at a distance, more attention. With my dad, you would assert that I wasn't calling him enough and that I didn't think enough to care about him. He sometimes called me selfish. Raised his voice a couple times on the phone. But it was just a gradual escalation of tension and abuse that it is very, very difficult to pick up on as an outsider, as somebody that's outside of the family, may not quite understand how dangerous the narc or any other abuser could be. Phase 3 is the main event. Abuser blows up on you and uses emotional, physical abuse, and the victim is left confused, angry, outraged, and hurt, more importantly. The abuser might use a smear campaign, might go to several doctors, your primary care physician. That is literally what my dad and my stepmom used to portray me as unstable, crazy, someone who needs help, things like that. And this happens in this phase 3, right after the main event, which sort of transitions into phase 4, which is the quiet period. Abuser may not speak to you, and you might develop abuse amnesia because everything is quiet. You think, okay, this is it. The relationship is over with my abuser or the narc, if you're dealing with a narcissist. And you might think it may never happen again. There are cases where if you try to expose the abuser or whoever it is, narcissist, sociopath, whatever, abuser of any sort, I wrote all this down. And this is in an Instagram post. But anyway, if you try to expose the abuser, a smear campaign may be used on you to destroy your image and destroy the likelihood that you were to be believed. Phase 5 is hoovering, the hoovering phase, as I call it. And the abuser attempts to reconnect with you and come back into your life while claiming to love you, care about you, and more importantly, to have changed. And the truth is, the narcissist has not changed, or abuser of any sort has not changed. And if anything, he or she has gotten worse. And that's very important to know. I think it's very important to implement no contact after phase 3, after the main event, or at least during phase 4. And if not during phase 4, after phase 4. Either after the main event, during the quiet period, or after that quiet period where you're not talking. Many times my dad, he wouldn't talk to me at all for weeks. After one of the, I will talk about this incident, but after one of the physically abusive incidents with him, he didn't talk to me for a long time. I think a lot of the spring, this happened 4 years ago, but a lot of the spring he didn't talk to me until about May. But it's important, had I known then what I know now, I would have implemented no contact right then to prevent further abuse from happening. But after phase 5, it goes right back to phase 1 if you fall for it, and everything's peaceful again. And then there's a gradual build-up, main event, quiet period, not talking, and then they're hoovering back to get you back into your life, sucked back into the cycle of abuse. It's sick. Okay. Back 4 years ago, I was just sitting and watching, I think I was watching a NASCAR race on TV, okay? And my dad calls me to his room. He fought with everybody in the house but me at that point. And I coughed, okay? He asked if I had taken my asthma medication. I told the truth. And he accused me of having an attitude, okay? An attitude. But here's what I think. This is what I think. If you don't show fear of him, he accuses you of having an attitude. Because I didn't have honestly did not have an attitude. Okay? So he threatens to throw a computer at me. Remember this detail. Remember this detail because it's important for later. What I'll tell you later in this video. But he threatens to throw a laptop at me. And he gets in my face and shoves me. I'm trying to keep him away. I'm trying to shove him away and, get him away from me. And at the time, I'm just a 14-year-old. Okay? Going up against a grown man. Okay? So I get thrown to the ground. What's really bad about this is that the stairs started right where I was being thrown to the ground. And I could have hit my head really hard where the stair is. Okay, so fortunately for me, my back landed on the first 2 steps. My head was at the 3rd step. I didn't really hit my head, but he threw 4 or 5 punches while I was on the ground. In front of my stepmom. And in front of my stepmom, he was very, 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 he was really, really an asshole. Okay, let's just be straight up. Okay, and, but after this physically abusive incident, he claims that I threatened to kill him. So, remember when I was talking about just now, how he threatened to throw a computer at me. I'm being accused of making the threat. On top of that, he even goes to a psychologist and even says that I was the instigator and the aggressor in this. But all of this encompassed, all of this really all applied this abuse cycle here. Everything was peaceful, gradual buildup of tension, main event. The quiet period was the spring, the aftermath of this incident, where we didn't speak, my dad and I. And then the hoovering was around May of 2013. And then the summer came around and the abuse cycle started up. There was a main event where I said I didn't want to go to his place anymore. And he goes on a tirade claiming that I'm selfish. There's sort of a quiet period and then a hoovering period. It all happens in a cycle. Every incident with my dad happened in this cycle.